Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. This is our morning get together live here on Facebook, where we gather and we discuss headlines from our city, our state, and our country. We answer questions that you may have about how to live happily, how to live in Puerto Vallarta, how to make good connections in Puerto Vallarta with our city, with one another, with our culture, with everything that we have at our disposal here. It is a pleasure to get together with you every day, and today is April 14. It is Thursday of Semana Santa. So the hullabaloo begins today, and we're going to have a lot of news about what's going on in Semana Santa. What's going on today, if you are new to Semana Santa and you don't know any difference between yesterday and today or tomorrow, well, this is a good broadcast for you to watch. Let me see. What else do we do? We also welcome new friends. We welcome those of you that have not been joining us live to let us know that you are new to our live broadcast. And if you do, all you have to do is write the word new in your comments. And we'll be so very happy to give you a nice little friendly welcome. If you have important questions, and this will be particularly helpful today, later on, when we talk about Semana Santa specifically, and vacationers, and this really uncomfortable topic of racism in Mexico and classism. It will help a great deal if you add a capital letter Q to your comment or question so that we can single those out while we're doing our usual chit chat section. Linda is new and loving it. I love it. Everybody, please welcome Linda. I want to be called Linda. There was a Staples commercial in the United States when I was living up there. And there was, I don't remember what the commercial was about, but I remember this guy walking around going, Linda. And of course, this has nothing to do with Puerto Vallarta, but that's just what I thought about this very second. So please indulge me. I think we are ready to go. Everybody's welcoming Linda. I love it. Boink. Let us go to the news. Okay, so it is Thursday. It is Thursday of Semana Santa week. And as is traditional, many employees throughout Mexico allow their workers to take Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off this week. As such, the annual crazy avalanche of incoming vehicular traffic from points north and south of the city is today, and it has already started according to this news note. For those of us that live here, Thursday of Semana Santa is one of those few days of the year in which one truly thinks twice before choosing to drive around the city. Errands today? No fracking way, particularly if your errands are going to take you anywhere near the main access roads, the Libramiento, Francisco Medina Asensio, the inbound highway coming from Point South. These are all places that, if you've been here before, are going to be very, very crazy when it comes to traffic getting from one place to another. So do keep this in mind. This note coming to us from yesterday afternoon reveals that in Guadalajara, bus departures to points outside of the city tripled yesterday, and there was approximately 1 car per second, or approximately 3,600 cars per hour, leaving somewhere for vacation. Even heavier outbound traffic from our capital city is expected today on the highways heading for beach points in Tepic and here in Banderas Bay. And how are hotels doing? Well, let's just say that at 95% of occupancy, if you have any friends looking for last minute bookings, things will get a little bit complicated for them starting today, because you will be very hard pressed to be able to find, and I'm not even sure I'm using that expression properly. You will not find accommodations easily if you're looking for a hotel room. While this is happening, of course, after 7 months of waiting, vendors at the Cuale Market are keeping their fingers crossed, hoping that tourism this weekend and next week will help them recover from the financial losses experienced while the market was being remodeled after Hurricane Nora caused substantial damage last year. It is worth mentioning that the handicap, there's a small teeny photo in this article. If I can get to it, there it is. I'm sorry, it's not very large. I tried to embiggen it, but it was not large enough. But this is a photo of the makeshift ramp that has been installed to access the market's second story. If you are in need of handicap access, there is a temporary ramp. I'm not sure how sturdy it is, but just know that the final or definitive ramp has yet to be installed. Meanwhile, in Sayulita, hoteliers and the business community are crying foul to the assertions that the Federal Commission for the Protection Against Sanitary Risks, or COFEPRIS, has published, indicating that the water in the ocean is unfit for swimming. The hotels and business community argue that this is all part of a dirty game, a smear campaign other beach destinations are playing due to the fact that Sayulita is becoming increasingly popular as a destination. I'm still not going into the ocean. No, I don't care if it's an open invitation, not in Sayulita and not in Puerto Vallarta for that matter. Take me to Las Animas, maybe, but definitely not this week. This week is for our tourist visitors to enjoy themselves and enjoy all the bounties that our city has to offer. What about our weather? Well, let's have a look and see what's going on there. Oh dear. Well, Elon Musk has been busy, I suppose, because now our snarky weatherman says Elon Musk offered to buy me too, but I won't sell for any price that doesn't include 4 commas, that is. Whatever. It is 25 degrees right now, feels like 26. Our temperature in Fahrenheit degrees is 77, and humidity is lower than yesterday, but I am sorry, it still feels very schwitzy with 51% humidity at present time. Let's see, our weather forecast for today is going to be a mostly cloudy day with a high temperature of 31, a low temperature of 18. Tomorrow, Friday, we're going to have a partly cloudy day with a high temperature of 32 and a low temperature of 19. And Saturday, a partly cloudy day with a high temperature of 32 and a low temperature of 21. Sounds like a good time to be experiencing air conditioning wherever you are. If you are in a place that is air conditioned, good for you. As for me, I'm going to spend the afternoon hoping that what's his face? Not Voldemort. Oh my God, I'm getting my Harry Potter characters. Dumbledore. I'm hoping that Dumbledore will make peace with his evil ex-boyfriend and that happens this afternoon. I'm going to go to the movies, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. Okay, so about this question about the difference between Semana Santa tourists versus Semana Pascua tourists and the can of worms that that conversation opens because it relates to racism and classism in Mexico. This is a topic that is definitely taboo for most of us Mexican nationals. We will talk about this at the end of the broadcast. Before we do that, let me share a couple other news notes that I have here. Um, God bless this news note that tells us that there's going to be a total eclipse of the sun that is going to affect us, at least in the northern part of Mexico. And I read the article 3 times just to confirm that. I mean, the article goes as far as letting us know what time it's going to happen. It's going to happen at 10:51 in the morning, and then it's going to get darker, and then it's going to get lighter, and it's going to last 4 minutes and 26 seconds. But nowhere in the article does it indicate the actual date in which this is supposed to happen. So I did some research, and it's going to happen on, I believe it's on April 30th. So pay no mind. I am sure that the nice people at Noticias PB just had what we call in Spanish a lapsus brutus, or a dummy moment, a silly moment, a giddy moment. They forgot to put the date, for crying out loud. Anyhow, that's one of the things I wanted to let you know. I also want to let you know that if you're out and about today, Arte Vallarta Museum has announced an exhibition of early artists of Puerto Vallarta featuring the works of Ramón Barragán, Manuel Lepe, Javier Niño, Ada Colorina, and several others. This is an ongoing exhibition, apparently, as it is scheduled for many, many different days. But if you wanted to go out and about today, this is something to consider. And lastly, tomorrow at 9 p.m., the Living Room Bookstore launches The Living Room After Dark, a series of evenings of the spoken word via open mic and featuring happy chocolates. And yes, I do mean happy chocolates and other cafe delights. This is tomorrow. Tomorrow evening at 9 p.m. There's a 150 pesito entry fee, but it includes the first CBD chocolate. And that's what it says in tiny, tiny, tiny little print. So there you have it. Now, let me come back to the big screen, and there we are. Let me take a look at your comments so that we can leave the interesting discussion till the end for those of you who actually are interested in hearing about racism in Mexico. But first, I see a lot of good mornings. Oh, Den and Kathy are starting to pack. I know. I visited with them briefly yesterday. And yes, this is that time of year which my Canadian and American and friends, some of you, start going back up north, and it makes me a little sad, but I always look forward to your return. More good mornings, more good mornings. Da 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 da. It's windy and dreary in MN. That must be an acronym state. Someone remind Mr. Sulu to decrease to Schwitz factor 6 today. I love it. I love it. Instead of warp factor, it's Schwitz factor. I hear you, Alex and Steve. I can feel it, and I have my shiny horns up here. But, it is what it is. We said hello to Linda, and that was wonderful. Let's see what else. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, this is as long as I'm thinking about. I had a great back and forth with a couple of viewers. A couple. I met the woman of the couple yesterday, and she's the one. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting your name. But long story short, the walk around tour, the walk around video of the Bazar Las Gaviotas, the secondhand store, is up on YouTube, and I will leave the link in the show notes today, as promised. So if you are considering visiting this awesome place, we visited it back almost a year and a half ago, and it's still there, and it's still wonderful. Let's see, what else do we have? I love it. They have a piece. Oh, a loss. Who lost someone? Somebody lost a pet. Oh, Christy, what happened? I'm not finding the specific message. Oh, I found it. I am so very sorry to hear this, Christy. Pasha. Pasha's in kitty heaven, I am sure, and I'll make sure to hug Luna for you today. And it's so difficult when our pets go. So sorry to hear that. Um, let's see. Oh, yes. Thank you very much for that, Patty. The mosquitoes are out early. Yes, time for the Vicks. What do you do with the Vicks? Do you just rub yourself with it? Because I would love mosquito tips. They absolutely love me. What I do is I just turn my ceiling fan on so high that in my crazy fucked up mind, it's too windy for them to land. And that's the way I survive my nights. Um, let's see. This total eclipse news bite sounds like a good pun for Raymond. Um, if Raymond puts out, we will read it. I'm still going through your comments. Um, let's see. And then Linda Barry, who's not Linda, says, Did I hear my name? Late joining in. I love it. Mm, what? Interesting conversation with a beach waiter. He told me not to talk to a beach vendor because he was not from Mexico, but from below, and he is darker. What? I am from the north. Well, welcome to racism in Mexico. It's very real, Deb, and we'll talk about that in a second. We're almost there. Thank you, Tony, for the reminder that the two concerts by the PV Gay Men's Chorus will be tonight and tomorrow at the Palm. We mentioned this a few days ago, and I hope you have a successful performance. Veronica and other friends are going back to Boca de Tomates today, and I'm totally jealous. I really wish I could join you. I was invited, but I have too many things to do. But I am so glad to see how much you guys specifically, and many of you, just really immerse yourselves in the possibility of exploring a lot of our destination while you're here. Let's see. You put a couple of dabs on ankles, wrists, and legs. Mosquito hate Vicks. Ooh, and I like the smell of Vicks, so I'm definitely going to try that one. The fan theory is a great one. We use it on our patio. I love it. And Albert, thank you very much for that. Gives us the information about eclipses for the rest of the year. Again, the one that I mentioned is going to happen on April 30th. Okay, so that brings us to that point of the program in which we're going to discuss the subtle and uncomfortable differences between tourists that come this week and tourists that come next week. So moving forward, if you have any specific questions about the topic, it will help a great deal if you add a capital letter Q. That way we'll be looking for questions that you may have about class distinctions, racism in Mexico, difficult topics for Mexican nationals to address because nobody likes to talk about racism in Mexico. We don't like to think that it even exists. We prefer to discuss it in terms of discrimination. But somehow the racism word, the R word, is one word that resonates very, uh, very uncomfortable. And the reason why we're talking about this is because it relates to Semana Santa and Semana de Pascua. As you know, it's two different weeks. It's a religious holiday, but this is a vacation period for many Mexicans, as I mentioned before. The vast majority of the population gets Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off this week. So what I'm going to tell you is simply perceptions, whether they are real or not, you be the judge. But the general idea of vacationers that come to Puerto Vallarta this week is that the type of people, oh, see, it's not easy to talk about these things. This is the week in which people of low income or not affluent, um, this is the week in which poor people take vacations. That's the general understanding, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there is this perception that it is the less cultured people that in turn are less educated, and as such have more questionable habits in town as to where they eat, how they dispose of their trash, or how they go to the bathroom, or how they behave out in public. How much of this is true? How much of this is not true? That is a rabbit hole question. The perception and the understanding is that tourism that comes next week, Semana de Pascua, is more civilized because it's when better off families take off and go on vacation. And there's this general understanding, although we've seen many cases that prove otherwise, that more affluent people are more civilized in the way they behave out and about during vacation. These are general ideas of how we welcome tourists. And these conversations don't happen comfortably in open forums. I'll give you an example. A lot of the five-star and Gran Turismo hotels and their associations like to talk about quality tourism. And what they usually mean with quality tourism is it's an easier way to say, well, we want people that have a lot of money that come to our hotels, that can afford them, that can afford the destination. So um, they don't like to actually acknowledge the fact that there are people that don't have as much money and also are entitled to a vacation. Then there's the issue of the color of our skin. Yesterday, I hinted to the fact that if you are, if you look like a tourist from another country, if you look like an international tourist and you try to get into a restroom in a restaurant or a shop while you're out and about, chances are that you will not have as many challenges doing so than if you are a dark skinned Mexican. Um, and I've experienced this firsthand. In fact, there's been a number of times in which I thought it'd be fun to play hidden camera along the Malecon and walk around with a friend that is blonde and beautiful, and have this friend go and ask to go to the bathroom, and then I will go and try to go to the bathroom and see what happens. But of course, there's never enough time to do silly things like that. The bottom line is everybody deserves a vacation. It is unfortunate for some business sectors in our city that they don't make as much money as this time as they would like to. I mean, this week, hotels are probably going to be full, but they're not going to make as much money as maybe Oxos and convenience stores, because a lot of the tourism that comes this week relies on, you know, low income items to eat and so forth and so on. So I hope this is a very basic conversation that could easily be the starting of many conversations about racism and classism in Mexico. The bottom line of it is Puerto Vallarta, as a destination that caters to so many different tourists, gets to have these kinds of conflicts. I don't know if this happens as much in traditionally Mexican vacation destinations, but here the general understanding is that a lot of people just duck. You know, we want to duck and have nothing to do with all the people that come in and leave our trash, that leave their trash everywhere and so forth and so on. Whether they're high income Mexicans, low income Mexicans, whether they're brown, whether they're white, et cetera, et cetera. We just don't want to have anything to do with it. And that's neither good or bad. That's just what it is. For me, as a Mexican national, as a Puerto Vallarta English-speaking local, or as a Puerto Vallarta local, period, you know, I tend to avoid situations in which there's just a lot of people out there. So that is my choice to stay away from the whole vacation experience during this week is my personal choice. And the way I see it in my head is, we get to live here um, for the rest of the year, so we might as well let other people come and enjoy it for a few days. So that is a very awkward, very general explanation of these subtle differences. And now I'm going to scroll back and see if you had any specific questions related to this topic in this final portion of the broadcast. Let's see. The eclipse I mentioned will be on 16th of May. Thank you very much, Albert. I will stay put on the 16th of May. Let's see. Mike Hill. Hello, Paco. Coming done. Coming done. I love it. You're coming done. On Monday, can't wait to visit the street where our new condo is being built. Good for you. I'm sure you're going to have a wonderful time. Let's see what else. Happy birthday to Sue Davenport, who's docked in San Juan, Puerto Rico. How lovely is that? Happy birthday. Let's see what else we have. Sad time of year for we locals, with many of our friends leaving and the Schwitz factor already at a vaguely uncomfortable 1.5 or 2. But we know and dread what's coming, reaching a brutal 10 by August or September. My only advice to you, Heather, is something that has worked for me. I make sure that I have friends that live here year round. I'm sad to see my friends that are temporary friends leave, but I have wonderful friends that live here year round, and I certainly hope that is your case as well. Oh, don't get me started, Jamie. This doesn't have a cue, but this is a topic that is just so precious in my repertoire. Subtle racism is gringos moving to Mexico and referring to themselves as expats. Yes, referring to, I don't know what POC stands for, moving to their country as immigrants. Just another variation of classism. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The expat word is a word that we seldom use here at Coffee and Headlines. And if we use it, we're not using it in a complimentary way. Which reminds me, this is totally unrelated, but is it true that in the United States, like what happened in New York, the guy is not labeled as a terrorist because terrorists are only people that cause harm in the United States if they come from another country? That was new to me, if it is true. I don't know if it's true, but I'm sorry to digress. That has nothing to do with what you're talking about here. Is the preference for lighter colored skin why the ads we see here are almost always of light-skinned people? Oh, what a great question that is, Dan. And again, this is something that English-speaking locals would not notice unless you're watching Mexican television or you're looking at Mexican ads in magazines and such. The answer is yes. A lot of advertisers will favor light-skinned people in Mexican ads because there is this perception that us dark-skinned Mexicans will be more drawn to a product or a service if it appeals to the international crowd. Yes, that is absolutely the unfortunate case. Let's see. Angelica, adds to the mix. Yes, then that comes from the colonization. The Spaniards that came here were white, and the Aboriginals have dark Aboriginals. I don't know that I would call. See, even calling locals Aboriginals is okay. I'm just going to say that yes, when the Spaniards came to Mexico, they introduced a very complicated lineage or casta system in which if you do I really want to go there? No, I'm not going to go there unless you tell me that you want to have a more elaborate history conversation about class and race. I'm not going to go there if I can help myself. But we can go there at another point in time. Let's see. The stereotype of poor tourists, especially in Acapulco, is that they don't even stay in hotels, but they sleep in their cars. That happens here as well. There is a phrase that is commonly used in Puerto Vallarta, again, not out in public, but we refer to the tourism as turismo panbimbero. And panbimbero calls from Bimbo brand bread, which in the United States is the equivalent of Wonder Bread. And it's believed or it's perceived that tourists of low income that come to Puerto Vallarta, all they do is go into Oxos, they buy cans of tuna, and they buy uh, bimbo bread, and that's what they eat. And it can be very offensive to if to talk about this in open conversations, because I mean no tourist would want to be pointed at as being a pambimbero tourist. So we have these conversations very carefully and very very delicately whenever the subject comes up. Um, do. Mario says, always hard to have such a discussion, but even the darker you look in Mexico, the racism gets worse. Absolutely. Absolutely, Mario. And it is a conversation that is important to be had, not only among those of us that are Mexican nationals, but also for people from other countries to understand the underlying problems in the fact that from an outsider's point of view, there's very little to be done. It is a Mexican issue, and it needs to be resolved from within. Um, the explanation I have heard on the beach from vendors saying not to buy from those with darker skin is because they have come from a southern country and may not have license to sell there. Well, we know for a fact, Jeannie, that there are many vendors that come during Semana Santa that try to sell. Um, and they try to sell without a proper permit. Now, I have not ever heard of each vendor refer to them as, well, if they're darker, don't buy from them. But that is another example of racism. The issue is not so much whether they're one color or another. The issue here would be whether they are licensed to sell properly or not. Elizabeth asks, what is Pascua? Pascua is Easter. Um, Raymond says, I don't have an eclipse pun. I'd rather not throw shade this early in the morning. Oh my goodness, you're brilliant. I love it. Uh, Tommy, who's still in Seattle and is packing bags, is looking forward to being a year round friend. We are just so happy to see you. Thank you for clarifying the meaning of POC. I had no idea what that meant. Thank you for that. Um, Albert clarifies there is such a thing as domestic terrorism. That's good to know. Um, let's see what else. Kate says, we are not expats from Mexico. We are expats from our home countries, immigrants to Mexico. Yes, that's the way I see it, I suppose. Um, okay, thank you very much for clarifying this, Lisa and Christy. I was fearful of the fact that the United States might not be so quick to acknowledge their own as terrorists and that terrorists are only from other countries. I'm glad to know that that is not the case. Let's see. There's another cue. I used the pay restroom across from McDonald's on the Malecon. Why do they never have toilet seats? I noticed this at all pay restrooms because they get stolen, because there are people that will steal many things just to be able to sell them. A lot of public restrooms don't have toilet seats because people walk away with them. And that's just the nature of the beast. Ah, don't you find it ironic how many white people come here to turn brown? Oh, what a beautiful question. Thank you very much, Heather. That is ironic. Den adds, if we call American citizens domestic terrorists, then we have to talk about all of the guns in our society, and no one wants to open up that can of worms. You see, that is a similar complicated conversation as is our conversation about racism in Mexico. It is complicated, but I'm very glad that we're having this as much of as we can call it a discussion here, because if it helps to clarify things for you, then that's what Coffee and Headlines is all about. Mm-mm. Timothy, it hurts my soul to see racism and classism in any country. Unfortunately, it is real, yes, and happens everywhere. All I can do is refuse to participate in it and treat everyone with the same respect. We all go back in the same box when our time on earth is over. Absolutely true. Ba-da-ba-ba. I think even though it's a tough topic, I am glad this is a safe forum for this discussion. Thank you. Well, that's what we're hoping, Jeannie. That's what we're hoping. And again, I'm not bringing this up to throw shade on anyone or anything. I'm simply trying to put things out on the table for us to become more for us to become more mindful. Uh, Deb says that neither the vendor or the waiter were casual acquaintances. Know them both for years. Well, I this to add a little bit of context, Deb. Racism and classism in Mexico didn't happen overnight. It's been around since the Spanish came here, and it got intensified at the beginning of the 20th century after the revolution, when the Mexican government tried to homogenize Mexico as a country of mestizo people. And again, that is a whole other history lesson, which we can have some other day. But for today, I think we have covered a little bit of what's going on. The bottom line for all of us is everybody deserves to be treated with respect, and that's what we aim for. Everybody deserves their place in society. Everybody deserves a time of rest and relaxation, which is what prompted this whole conversation. So, if you live here and don't want to deal with the heavy crowds, it's okay. Don't complain about it. Just stay home and crochet or do whatever it is that you'd like to do. And and that's pretty much all I have. I see Michael. Hello, Michael. I eat tuna and white bread, shop at the dollar store sometimes, and remember when my parents would buy no brand names growing up. I hope people don't think differently of me as I would not of them. Absolutely. Absolutely. We all come from all kinds of different places. And these labels, again, they're uncomfortable to wear, uncomfortable to apply, and uncomfortable to discuss. So I'm grateful for the opportunity of, between yesterday and today, of having done a little bit of research on the topic. And um, and again, we want Coffee and Headlines to be a place where we feel comfortable talking about complicated issues like this. We're always going to strive to keep it that way. And I thank you very much for being receptive to this very important topic. We can have as many of these as you want in the future. As always, thank you very much for spending some quality time with Luna and myself. It is very much appreciated. Have a fun, safe rest of the week. I'm going to the movies this afternoon, but we'll be back here tomorrow, and we will be hopefully sharing more interesting tidbits as we aim to do every single day. Between now and then, stay happy, stay safe, stay kind, stay respectful, and stay loving, and stay in touch. Have a great day.